So what do you call a buyer in Hollywood? Someone who purchases intellectual property. Is it a studio? Is it an executive? Is it a distributor? Is it a streamer? I think that if you have a piece of intellectual property to sell to Hollywood, you at least need to know the name of who's going to buy it. Hi, I'm Maggie Marr of Maggie Marr Legal PC. I'm a USA Today best-selling author of over 25 books. I also am a former motion picture and subsidiary rights agent, and now I have my own entertainment law firm that's dedicated to the needs of creatives. So I have a new book out called Books to Film and TV, What Every Author Needs to Know. Please feel free to pick up a copy. It's available as an audiobook, an ebook, and a paperback book. And as part of the release of Books to Film, What Every Author Needs to Know, I'm going through and reading chapter by chapter and giving some side notes and extra information about each chapter on my YouTube channel. That way, if you want to, you can buy a book to follow along, or you can just listen to every episode and hear exactly what the book has to say about different elements of Books to Film and TV and what every author needs to know. So this book comes to you after 22 years of experience in the entertainment space. I, as I mentioned, was a subsidiary rights agent for ICM, which is now merged with CAA. Those are big words for someone selling books into film and TV. I also represented motion picture directors and screenplay writers. I now have my own entertainment law firm that's dedicated to the needs of creatives, directors, screenplay writers, producers, book authors. That's primarily who we serve. And I'm also a USA Today bestselling author of over 25 books in both women's fiction and also the romance space. So today I'm going to go over chapter 4, which is titled Hollywood Buyers and Sellers. When I use the term Hollywood, there are many terms for this magical land: the industry, the business, Hollywood, all of which denote the business of putting film and TV shows together, getting them packaged, into production, and on air. This chapter provides an overview of the industry and all the people and parts that inhabit the world of entertainment. There are also definitions of each in the glossary of this book. This chapter is not definitive or all-inclusive, and there are always outliers. Please remember there are outlier events in all cases, such as when a typical buyer becomes a seller, but for the purpose of this chapter, we are discussing the general rule. After reading this chapter, if you have questions about this or any other matter involving entertainment, please reach out to me anytime. There are very few things I love more than talking about film, TV, and getting projects made and on screen. It's my hope that after reading this chapter, you'll come away with a primary understanding of the people and types of companies who inhabit Hollywood. This is an industry, and like most industries, the town breaks down into two major categories with some overlap, which are buyers and sellers. The sellers. Traditionally in entertainment, sellers are creatives, actors, directors, screenplay writers, authors, agents, managers, and when they've got a product, script, book idea, package that is ready for a streamer or studio or financier to board, producers. So one of the things is that what you'll see in this chapter is that someone that you may define as a seller can also be a buyer, and someone who is a buyer can also be defined as a seller. The perfect example of that is a producer. So a producer is someone who often purchases or options underlying intellectual property, say a book, and then they will package different elements to that book, and then they will pivot and turn around and become a seller to a studio or a streamer or a third-party financier to try to get their project set up. So that's an ideal example of how a buyer of intellectual property then pivots and becomes a seller. Agencies and agents. An agency in the entertainment landscape is one of the biggest players. The biggest agencies in town as of this writing are Creative Artists Agency, CAA, William Morris Endeavor, WME, United Talent Agency, UTA, International Creative Management, ICM. which is in negotiations to be purchased by CAA. And that's how fast entertainment can move, because that purchase has taken place, and in fact, the announcement was last Friday that ICM has now merged with CAA. Agencies and their respective agents represent creative talent, authors, screenplay writers, directors, actors, producers, musicians, voiceover talent, and more of these mega purveyors of creative individuals include sports divisions that also represent athletes. A number of the bigger agencies have agents that work in publishing as publishing agents. ICM, my former home, had a very robust publishing division in New York City that represented book authors. In fact, one of their former agents, we were assistants together, brokered my first book deal. Love you, Andy. And managed to create a bidding war for a first-time author. Me. It was me. Talk about a lightning strike on Rodeo Drive. Agents in California must be bonded through the state and have a number of requirements that they must fulfill to be able to be an agent and represent talent. They have a fiduciary duty to their client to act in the client's best interests. Agents are deal makers. In some ways, agents are the engine for the deals in Hollywood. They are forever pushing buyers, which would be studios, streamers, producers, and financiers, to pay above market rates for their creative clients' talents. Agents are meant to know what is going on in town, who is hot and who is not, which executives are leaving or getting fired. Big agencies have what are called covering agents. Covering agents are junior agents who are assigned to cover certain studios, streamers, and production companies, to which they speak to the executives, if not daily, multiple times a week, to determine what the buyers want and need, who is buying what, who isn't buying anything, what is on different buyers' slates, and what they need. A great agent is invaluable to a career. A bad one is like a sinking ship with you on it. Unlike managers, agents are prohibited from becoming producers on projects. However, this line has become blurred with giant agencies beginning production-type companies. While their clients want the financing that comes with the ability to produce projects, they don't necessarily like the idea of working for their agents. For the agency and agent's ability to get you and your work in front of buyers, to negotiate the deal, and to have all that knowledge, they charge between 15 and 20% of what their clients make. A special note about publishing agents, as agencies that specialize in publishing. Once upon a time, before the advent and tremendous success of indie publishing, authors usually acquired their traditional publishing agent first. The publishing agent had relationships with subsidiary rights agents, a big word for film and TV agents specializing in books to film in Hollywood. The publishing agent would reach out to a subsidiary rights agent in Hollywood on behalf of their author clients and ask if the sub-rights agent wanted to co-agent the book, which is industry speak for representing the book in film and TV. While at ICM, we not only repped all the film and TV rights for those authors who had publishing agents at ICM in New York City, but we also worked with a number of boutique publishing agencies and represented their clients' work for acquisition in film and TV. If you are currently represented by a publishing agent, take a look at your representation deal. Most likely, unless you carved it out or made modification, your publishing agent gets 15 to 20% of your film and TV rights, should those rights sell to film and TV. This number was established because the traditional agent utilized their relationships to find a film and TV agent for the author to sell the book to film and TV. Therefore, the publishing agent and the books to film subsidiary rights agent would split that 15 to 20% in commission when and if the subsidiary rights were sold into entertainment. Fast forward 20 years. And to say publishing has changed is an understatement. There are many authors who don't want or need a publishing agent, nor do they publish through traditional publishing. To trad, indie, or hybrid authors, I say, to each their own amazing path. So this is a big change that I've seen, and I think it's a really interesting one. So a number of indie authors, they don't have a publishing agent, or they don't need one now. And oftentimes, they may have their own subsidiary rights agent or an entertainment attorney like myself, who sells their subsidiary rights into film and TV. And that relationship that they have in entertainment, the film and TV space, is not coming from or derivative of their original relationship with their publishing agent. So there are situations in which I've seen publishing agents acknowledging that and taking less of a fee. But it really, those relationships generally, not too long ago, you would get your publishing agent first, and then they would pivot and they would introduce you to a subsidiary rights agent in film and TV, in the film and TV space in Hollywood. And then that individual would represent your work out here in entertainment. But here's the thing. You may need someone to negotiate a subsidiary rights deal in film and TV and never need a publishing agent. I'd assert, and I may be biased, that a solid entertainment attorney can do that job for you. Also, if a sub-rights agent with some experience comes knocking, have a conversation. Interview them, because always remember these folks, attorney, agent, manager, all work for you. One of the things I'd suggest you look for before agreeing to have an individual rep your film and TV rights is, have they successfully sold film and TV rights before? Is selling film and TV rights to studios and streamers a primary part of their business? Do they have experience and contacts in Hollywood? It's taken 20 plus years for me to develop my relationships, and I use them every day and with nearly every sale. I'd caution you not to allow an individual without knowledge of, and more importantly, solid contacts in entertainment to rep and negotiate your deal points for film and TV rights. Also, I strongly advise that even if you have a subsidiary rights manager or agent who brokers the deal, you also have an entertainment attorney read and redline the contract. I've yet to see an agreement that doesn't benefit from an experienced entertainment attorney reviewing the contract on behalf of their client. So I want to drill down into that for a second. So what I have noticed is that there are individuals who are offering to represent film and TV rights that don't necessarily have relationships or knowledge within that space. They may have relationships and knowledge within the publishing space, but they don't yet have them in the film and TV space. And they're utilizing authors' intellectual property to create those relationships. Here's the thing, when you're dealing with intellectual property, I would advise you to work with someone who has dealt with intellectual property in the film and TV space before. Or if there is a manager, a literary rights manager that you really believe in and you want to work with them, at least have entertainment attorney negotiate and review those deals that they make, because not everybody has an overview of what's going on in the market with different buyers. And so I often will see the downside of not being appropriately represented, because somebody will come to me after they've already had somebody else negotiate, broker, and close the deal, and those deal points and terms are not what they could have been. And you also want to make sure that your intellectual property, nobody is getting grabby with your intellectual property, that the reserved rights that are reserved to you, the author, are actually appropriate rights that are and should be reserved to the author. So just be cognizant of who you're having negotiating and brokering your deals in the film and TV space. You may want to ask them a number of questions to find out where they've worked in film and TV out here, what deals they've brokered, who their buyers have been, because that can be really important. And it will be able to let you know their knowledge base. And again, as I said, if it's someone that you really want to work with that doesn't have a deep knowledge base, they may have someone on their team that has a deep knowledge base that they can lean into for the red line, the negotiation, or the market parameters that are important to authors. Okay. One final point. The original way that authors got their film and TV subrights agents, publishing agent first, and then utilizing the relationship with the publishing agent to get a subrights agent, has changed. Oftentimes folks either get a subrights deal and representative first, or they have a prior relationship with an agent or entertainment attorney in Hollywood who reps subrights. Therefore, the publishing agent didn't make the original introduction to the film and TV rep, and while the publishing agent may 100% deserve a piece of your subrights in film and TV, they also may be willing to reduce the 15 to 20% that they normally ask for to 7.5 or 10%. Because in some cases, they will forgo their percentage of film and TV rights altogether. And this is because they weren't the individual that introduced you to your representative. So, to each their own. I report only what I've seen and discovered in publishing and entertainment. Have these conversations with your representatives. Clarity around these points can save a whole lot of discord down the road. Yes, and I would say that when you decide to take on an agent, that is also a deal memo that you should either review and ask for the changes that you need, or you should ask someone else to review it and redline it and ask for the changes that you seek. Okay? So, managers. Managers and management companies can be tremendous assets to a career. As of this writing, some of the biggest management companies in town are Anonymous Content, Untitled Entertainment, Management 360, Circle of Confusion, 3 Arts, and M88. There are more than I can name. There are so many management companies in town. Managers generally fill a more personal role with their clients, not only advising them on the business components of a deal. They often have more extensive conversations with their clients about the strategic decisions to be made for creative fulfillment as well as career longevity. Managers may attach to and become producers on projects, and the biggest management companies have production companies with a first look deal with streamers and studios. While some agents also do similar tasks for a client, a manager is most likely to read draft after draft of a script, give notes, and spend great amounts of time packaging projects, as well as looking for great projects in which their clients can participate. Managers, because they are not bonded like agents, or regulated by the state bar like attorneys, are precluded from invoicing buyers for their clients' fees. Managers charge anywhere from 10 to 20% of what their clients make on a deal. And some managers, if they attach to a project and they get a producer's credit or a producer's fee, will forgo their management commission on different deals. Managers can be fantastic. They're generally intended to take a much more hands-on approach. They lean into their clients' work. They may provide notes and drafts. Some management companies are part of great production companies, and they work very hard to package underlying intellectual property, which increases the value of the project when it goes to market. Entertainment attorney. There are a myriad of big and boutique law firms in entertainment. I am, of course, biased toward the facility and necessity of an entertainment attorney. I often say, you don't have to hire me to review your deal, but please have an attorney who understands the entertainment industry read your agreement before you sign it. Having worked in entertainment for 20 plus years, I've seen the atrocious downside of not having an attorney read a deal before a person signs. Generally, agreements are presented to creatives with the best interest of the buyer, not the seller. Therefore, again, I suggest, more like implore, you have an entertainment attorney read, review, and redline your deals. And no, your sister's husband's brother-in-law who practices estate law in Wyoming will not work. Unless, of course, he worked in business affairs at Warner Brothers before changing his area of practice. The reason why I suggest an attorney specializing in entertainment law review your agreement is that entertainment agreements and deals are highly specialized. The language in entertainment agreements is specific to entertainment, and there are simply parts of an agreement that will not change. They are somewhat non-negotiable. Yes, an attorney can ask, but part of my job as an attorney is to know and understand the landscape of the industry as well as the landscape of the buyer's agreements. I provide my market overview, knowledge of precedent around buyers' deals, and experience when negotiating a deal for a client. Plus, a good entertainment attorney has contacts and long-standing relationships in the industry, much like an agent and manager, which they can utilize to facilitate the deal making. Entertainment attorneys charge 5 to 10% of what their clients make on every deal. Okay, so I started out as an agent and became, already was an attorney when I started in the mailroom at ICM. So I became an agent at ICM first, and then my practice just kind of grew up organically around me because so many of my friends and colleagues who are authors and then my former clients from ICM would reach out and ask for me to read their projects, read their scripts, look at their deal memos. When they knew that I understood not just the buying and selling that takes place with an agency, but also the redlining of deal points and deal memos, they would ask me to do that on their behalf. So the practice just grew up through word of mouth. It's all been referral, both from my friends within the entertainment industry and then also from my friends who are creatives like I am a creative. I can say that I love what I do. I love that I understand the buying and selling component. Everything that I learned at ICM through the mailroom and to becoming an agent has been invaluable to me. And those contacts are contacts that I lean into every single day. And then the legal background and the ability to redline deal memos and negotiate with business affairs and really fully understand and grasp what's going on in a legal contract, that's incredibly valuable to me and to my clients as well. And then I think that the creative component, being a writer and a creator also, provides me with insight as to what's important to creators of intellectual property on sort of a different level. And then writers are my people, right? So I think there's a shorthand there, because we've all, sweated through getting a scene on the page before. So it's always amazing to me to be able to talk about the business as well as the creative component of what we do. So the buyers, producers and production companies are usually the origination point for film and TV projects. Again, a broad generalization. Examples of production companies are Shondaland, Hello Sunshine, Macro, Color Creative, Legendary Entertainment, also a studio, Truly Productions, Bad Robot, Blumhouse, 21 Laps, 6th Street, Broadway Video, Skydance, Heartbeat Productions, Sugar 23, Combust Film, and 1,000 more. Check out IMDb Pro or Variety Insight or Studio System to gain knowledge of the different producers, production companies, and overall deals. A producer in the production company is the person in place that shepherds a project through the development process. Once the project is ready, the producer utilizes their connections and relationships to take the project to a studio or streamer in order to pitch the project so that they can set it up. Some production companies have first look and/or overall deals with streamers and studios. Production companies can be as small as one person or have hundreds of employees. The primary focus of the producer and production company is to find, develop, and get material into production. Because unless they've got a big fat overall deal which takes care of salaries, and sometimes even if they do, the producer generally doesn't get paid until a project gets made. Overall deals are negotiated between the production company and or studio streamer. Generally, in return for the overall deal with a streamer or studio, a producer or production company sends their projects first to the studio with which they have their overall deal. The perks of an overall deal can include office space, fees, overhead, discretionary fund, and expenses. Currently, Shondaland is in an 8-figure overall deal with Netflix. In return for this overall deal, Netflix looks at and produces Shondaland's projects. Think Bridgertons. Studios and streamers have a closer relationship with the producers and production companies with which they have a first look deal and are highly motivated to buy projects from their producers and production companies first. So producers with a first look deal, as I mentioned before, it will be a studio or a streamer that will give them that first look deal. It's negotiated just like anything else is negotiated. Studios and streamers are highly motivated to try to service those first look deals. So they like to look at material that comes from the first look deals And the producers who are under a first look deal are required, hence the name first look, to give the studio streamer that they're under a deal with a first look at anything that they would like to purchase, develop, make. Once they have satisfied that first look, the majority of producers can then what's called travel to different studios or streamers to try to set things up. There, you can have an exclusive deal with a studio or streamer, which means you cannot travel. You either get it set up at the studio or streamer that you have your overall deal with, or you don't get it set up at all. Studios and streamers. Since beginning my career in entertainment, the industry has seen tectonic shifts in the players, and yet the dance steps remain remarkably the same. The major studios used to be Sony, Fox, Disney, Universal, Warner Brothers, MGM, and Paramount. When I say bigger, this is based on money available and size of production slates. Now Fox is part of Disney, and MGM looks to soon become part of Amazon, which has actually happened. That's another deal that came through since this book was published, which was only, I think 6 weeks ago. Apple makes film and TV shows, as does Netflix. The primary studio streamers, aka buyers in town, as of this writing, are Netflix, HBO Max, part of Warner Brothers, Sony, but without streaming, Paramount Plus, Apple, Amazon, Hulu. A lot of negative pickups at Hulu and not as much production, although that could shift or change. Disney includes Fox, FX, and ostensibly Hulu. And there are more coming online quickly, such as Roku and IMDb Pro. It seems as though there is a new buyer daily, and they are dumping lots of money into the production of film and TV. Good news for creatives. So there's been a lot in the news lately about how stock prices for the different studios are declining. But here's the thing. One of the last places that they will want to cut is in the actual production of material, because the production of the material and putting it up on platforms day in and day out is what gets people to subscribe to their service and also to continue to subscribe to their service. As well as, if you think about theatrical releases, now that they have ramped back up, there is a distribution network that has to be fed with movies that can be put out. So production is always the last place that they want to cut, and there is a very robust need both in the market from buyers such as us, like viewers, as well as in the platforms that have been created to have hours upon hours of content. While this chapter is informative, it is in no way all-inclusive. At the back of this book, you'll find lists of websites and books that provide loads of information regarding producers, production companies, studios, and streamers. This is a bare bones basic overview with regards to who the sellers and buyers are in town. I recommend that if you want to understand the business, you read Deadline and Variety, and select a number of books regarding the entertainment business to review. Also, grab me at a conference or shoot me an email. I'm always happy to discuss books to film and entertainment. You can always reach me at hello@maggiemarlegal.com. So I love to talk about film and TV and the movement of books into the film and TV space. In fact, that's exactly why I wrote this book. So, I've spoken at a lot of conferences and I've given a very similar presentation. And then, when friends would call, or friends of friends of friends would call, I would hop on the phone, and for hours we would just talk about the ins and outs of film and TV. And I love doing that, and it's super fun. But as the practice started to grow, I realized that I can't work 24 hours a day. So I can't get on the phone every time somebody would like an overview of the industry. I try very hard to make myself available that way, but I can't always. And so it was one of my good friends, Theodora Taylor, who said, write a book. And so I did. And so this book is meant to be an overview of the ins and outs of the space. And of course, if I can answer any follow-up questions or if anything is unclear, you can, like I said, grab me at a conference, reach out to me by email, and I'm happy to be helpful that way. So that is chapter 4, and I hope that the insights that came along with me reading the chapter have been helpful to you. We will drop links below to the paperback, the audiobook, and the ebook. We're also prepping a books to film and TV class where we will have different executives and some producers, as well as myself, provide presentations. So we will drop a link to the wait list for that class. We're really excited about it. We think it will enhance the book and the learning for creators of intellectual property. So again, I'm Maggie Marr. Thank you so much for listening. If you got some value out of this video, please subscribe and like. Also, if you have any questions, you can drop them below. Thank you so much. Have a great day.